Did you feel like it was a productive spring and you got everything done that you needed to get done?
I thought we had a great spring. Really encouraged by it. No major injuries, number one, coming out of spring ball, so that was awesome. A lot of good competition. Just kind of recognize when you're playing spring how young we were, but a lot of guys got a lot of reps. And so really, really happy with our spring practice.
Any surprises for you, or did it go pretty much as planned? I mean, pretty much what you thought you were going to see is what you saw, or was there something that developed a development that maybe took you by surprise?
Yeah, it just kind of felt like it was back to Navy football. You know, some of the guys talked about that, like our seniors said, it was the first time that they'd gone through the whole thing from January, when we come back, our winter workouts, our fourth quarters, spring practice, so I think that was good. I think I recognized for us, some other teams might have, the pandemic hurt everybody. Worse than football stuff. But I recognize for us that, we're a team that has to be together. And some teams might be able to get away by not, changing in the locker room and not getting together. But our thing is always built on chemistry and team unity. And I just finished with our meetings. I meet with every player at the end of spring practice. And all of them talked about how close they felt and that they hadn't felt this before. But again, obviously 1 year that we weren't here for spring practice. And last year things were kind of broken up. So I think I was encouraged this off season, just seeing like we got back to normal, from January all the way through to now. So that's what I was probably most encouraged by.
And last for me for now, you played so many sophomores and freshmen last season, and you had said that dividends would pay forward. It kind of seemed to me during the practices I came out that guys that were freshmen and sophomores now are already sophomores and juniors. It's almost like they jumped a year ahead. Does it seem like you maybe got guys who are more experienced than their years just by the fact that they were thrown into the fire so early?
No, it's a great observation, Wags. I think that's exactly what happened. We took our lumps last year, but, a lot of guys, obviously we didn't want to lose Mitch West or Kevin Brennan, two of our safeties, but allowed Aiden Gibbons and Rayon Lane to get a ton of reps. Some of our young corners were able to get in there, and Beanie Williams, Elias Larry got in there, Fletcher, and was able to get in there and get some reps at linebacker. The thing too, you forget, last year was Ty's first time, as a young quarterback, and all the experience that, he took, and he took his lumps last year, but I thought towards the ending part of the year, he played really well. Obviously, he played phenomenal in the last game against Army. And, we went into last year thinking that Daniel Jones was our go-to speed A-back. Then we found Mikael Haywood, seeing what he could do. And then the spring, Vincent Terrell had a breakout spring. So I just feel like, Kai Rojas got some reps at quarterback, but he'll probably move back to A-back. So just a lot of reps, a lot of young guys, like you said, were thrown in there. And I think about Le'Veon Mertezi at O-line, Josh Pena, so we're, just young, but all those guys are coming back. All those guys are coming back. We're young at fullback. Probably, we had some tough, hard-nosed runners last year in James and Isaac, but we're a lot faster there. And so some of our lumps, like you said, Wags, a great observation. Some of the guys are playing, we have some veteran guys. Wait a minute, he's only a sophomore. But he played last year, so I'm super encouraged by all of that.
Let's go to Mike James.
Hey, Coach. The nature of the school is such that seniors tend to not only be expected to lead, but a lot of times pressured to lead. But when you look up and down the depth chart, it's a lot of juniors, it's a lot of sophomores. change the dynamic of the team at all, and how you have to approach it, just in who's expected to lead, and whether it's on the field or off the field, and set the example?
Yeah, Mike. So, like you said, our not as much seniors. Our class isn't as big this year. They're, because of COVID and stuff. I mean, we lost some people, that decided to transfer and whatever the case may be. So our senior class isn't as big. So, in talking to some of our guys, it's just that senior class is close, but it seemed like this spring that there are more guys talking. Ty was vocal as a quarterback. We had, younger linebackers that were talking. Will Harbor was a guy that, that talked a lot. So Avon Givens that played a lot. So just kind of feel like the senior leadership will always lead, because there's things that we talk about with the brotherhood and the expectations here to choose the right and do good off the field and, take care of business in the hall. So those kind of things the older guys teach them. But I think from a football standpoint, the locker room standpoint, I've been impressed by the leadership's been kind of spread out a little bit from the juniors and sophomores.
Spring is really a time to focus on teaching and getting fundamentals down. But as coaches, is there anything that you're trying to learn over the same period?
We always dabble, in all three phases. You always people and talk to people. You explore, and you do a lot of off-season professional development, professional research. You watch your cut-ups, and then you try to implement some things. So you're always dabbling in the spring. And the key, I feel like, for our teams are to not to get too far away from who you are, but be able to add some more weapons and to more ideas that will help you. And that's the key. I mean, sometimes maybe we dabble too much in the spring. But I think on both sides of the ball, really all three phases, a lot of implementation, some experimental stuff. And the things that I thought we dabbled in, I was excited by them. I mean, they look good. So I was encouraged by that.
Thanks, Coach.
Let's go to Randy Cross.
Hey, Coach. Good to hear you. Good to see you.
Yeah, I had my voice after talking to 2 days of talking to over 121 players. I lost my voice at the 70th player, but anyways.
Oh yeah. Hey, I've got two. First one regarding Ty. Were there is it an incremental change, or were there any real dramatic changes from a decision-making standpoint, in that you watched him as spring went on, where you start thinking to yourself, man, he's starting to really get what it is we need him to do?
Yeah, I thought Ty last year, going back to last year, Randy, he played some good games. I thought he played well in ECU, played well against Central Florida, and obviously played really, really well against, Army. And I feel like that in my years of being here, when a quarterback plays in that game and is able to function and do well, it just catapults them this way, because there's no higher stress level, there's no higher barometer. I mean, it just, and especially this year, like I said, I've been in 24 of them, and this year it seemed crazy. I don't know, because coming back or whatever, but it was so electric, and I thought Ty functioned really well. It went from the Notre Dame game where, I'm yelling at him and we burned 3 timeouts. I think in the first quarter, blew the play or checked the play, and I thought he played really, really well in the Army game. And Randy, I was really, really happy with him this spring. I mean, it just super, super encouraged. I thought he had a phenomenal spring. Going against new stuff, I mean, New's got 92 blitzes coming. I mean, and he saw things. He could get us in the right play. He wasn't rattled by it. Or maybe last week, he would, would have got hit inside, in the back of the head. But I was just really encouraged by him. And because of his growth from the Army game to spring ball and through all of that, I feel good. As you know, and anything in football, things go with the quarterback. And so I'm really encouraged because of the way Ty performed this spring.
And this may be a bit of a redundant from some of the earlier questions, but the physical nature of spring most years, did it seem just more physical because you hadn't done it for a while in this spring, or do you think the guys were just itching?
I think it was both.
Yeah.
I think it was just, and I had several thing I was encouraged by. Just so we had a lot of recruits here, Randy, that came to our practices and watched our practices, and I had several different recruits and parents say that they've been to a lot of other practices, spring practice, but that our practice was the most physical and the most energy spirited practices. So I kind of felt that our practices were high energy and a lot of physicality, but that's my perspective. So it was interesting for me to get feedback from different recruits that come from different parts of the country that don't know each other, and they saw that. So I was super encouraged by that, and I think our kids just love playing. They just love coming to practice. I had to tone them down later, and some of the practices. Normally when you get into the 12 and the 11th practice and later on, guys are ready to be done with it. I mean, these guys wanted to keep practicing, and I had to. The ending part, I had to take the pads off because these guys were going to kill each other. But then I loved their team because there would be a lot of skirmishes. Like I shared this one story. So there was like this big skirmish on the sideline, and offense and defense, like a big brawl. So I ran over there trying to break it up, and they were laughing. It's like WWE guys are laughing and like, giving a flying elbow. And I said, these guys aren't fighting. It's like they're joking around. And so there's something about this team that I really love. Just physical kids. They're young, so we'll see what happens. But I thought it was a physical spring, Randy. And fortunately, knock on wood, we didn't get anybody injured for it. There will be, we had some bumps and bruises, and some guys had some things, but they'll be back for training for camp.
That's great. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Randy.
Scott Wyckoff.
Hey, Coach, what impressed you the most about Vincent at slot back that made him the most improved player in camp?
He had a ton of big plays, a ton of big plays in the passing game and in the run game. And like I said, we kind of knew that Daniel Jones was one of our breakaway speed guys. And we knew, Mikel, we saw him last year, what he can do and his speed. And then Vince, he had some long runs this spring. He had a ton of long runs, and it was just encouraging to see that we got some guys that when they get the ball in the edge, they can take it, they can take it to the house. So that was the most encouraging thing. Just he kind of came out. We kind of were counting on Daniel and Mikel to kind of be some of our home run threats. But Vince had a really good spring, catching the ball. The thing I love about him, he's not only quick, but he's fast. So he's, sometimes guys are quick, not fast. And some guys are straight ahead, speed fast, and they can't cut. Vince seems to have both. He's got a little jitterbug to him, but then he can squirt through.
How is it for you having Coach Peterson there for an extra set of eyes on offense?
He's been awesome. Awesome. You forget a guy that was, at Air Force, for almost 3 decades. And, when they were pummeling everybody, they were on top, when he was at Fisher and had, some great football coaches, some great minds. And so it's just great to get his perspective. Ivan and I and Ashley and other coaches on our staff, obviously we, especially Ivan and I, we come from Paul's thinking of option football, but just to get his thoughts. And a lot of times it's not totally different. Some of the verbiage is different, but some of the ways in attacking, so it's been awesome giving that perspective. But he also knows the academy. So there's things in recruiting that some of the new guys that have come from other places, you got to kind of help them out. Okay, you're looking for an academy. This is what we're looking for. And he already knows all this stuff. You know what I mean? So he doesn't waste his time and all of that. But there's also some perspectives like, we'll be maybe some things we're fighting for in the hall and trying to things that we need and up in the hall. And he starts laughing. He goes, well, we fought for those same things at Air Force. You know what I mean? Just, certain things that happen like, oh, you guys have the same battles here? He goes, yep, yes, we do. And so to a guy that's been very successful in academy football, that he knows option football. So I think both of those lenses, he knows option football and he knows the academy, his perspective, his wisdom has been invaluable for me and our coaching staff and our players. He's been a tremendous addition.
As you send off all those players that you talked to, that you lost your voice talking to over the last couple of days, what's that you say to them that you need them to do for the rest of the spring and the summer before fall practice?
Well, this is what I told them. I said, I feel as good as I've felt in a long time on whatever today is, yesterday, 21st. And I thought from January, after the Army game until January, into the spring, last spring practice, I thought, I was so encouraged. A lot of good things happening, but it's only April. What is our team going to do from April to August? And that's the key to this team. And, so it's the leadership. And I've told them that you can have good teams when it's led by your coach, and you can have some really good team if the coach leads. But to be elite and to be great, the great teams that I've had here and we've had here at the academy, they've been led by players. And so I like our leadership, but that's been the key. It's them in the summer when, it's just Coach Fitz and they're and them here and the molding and all those things. And so that was my encouragement. I'm super encouraged where we're at right now, but you're not playing any games. And last year we were flat, and that's my biggest concern. My wake up in cold sweats. I thought we played horrible that first game. And so the biggest key for us is we have to get off to a fast start. I knew it last year. I knew we had to get off to a fast start. I knew it was a tough schedule, and we laid an egg that first game. So that's our biggest thing right now, from April to summer workouts to camp to that first game. We got to be going like that.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good summer.
Thanks, Scott.
Bill Bergman.
Coach, you touched on Kai Rojas a little bit earlier. What do you see at him at quarterback? And it looks like on the most recent depth chart, he's back at slot back.
I kind of feel bad for him. He told me a couple of years ago when he first came, he wanted to play quarterback. And I said, no, you play slot. And he actually did really well, for coming in there. And Ivan and I both like if he had more time, he could push it. But Ty had such a great spring, and he just kind of elevated himself and kind of separated from the pack, so to speak, and just so it allows us to make that move. But we both feel, Coach Jasper and I both feel that if he had more time, and, he was just here for the spring, and he did really, really well, so I probably owe an apology to Kai, if I'd have moved him earlier, who knows, it would have been a battle.
You talk about the Kool-Aids a lot that take place. How impactful were they over the spring, and were there any memorable ones?
Well, they're into the position meetings. Well, I'll tell you this. When I have my end of meetings, I just talk with the players, and a lot of them talk about how they enjoy the Kool-Aids. And most of them, and the way the coaches do them, like we have Kool-Aids in our staff meeting is given by the coaches, but the Kool-Aids or the inspirational thought in the meetings are given by the players. And all of the players said they appreciate that. Because sometimes us as coaches, we got, we come to staff, okay, sit down here, get on the board, and it's all ball. But for them to sit down and have a thought, and the guy gives a thought, and to let them unwind a little bit, to, for our players to recognize that we see them more than just football players, that it's more than that we're going to talk about something. And the cool thing about them, Phil, it's them. They're giving the Kool-Aids in the position meetings. That's how, and I've had several of the players said, Coach, I really appreciated those, that the coaches take, 5 minutes to start the meeting to go over Kool-Aid. Because a lot of times these kids are down. A lot of times they're coming from the hall. Maybe they just had a tough test and maybe things aren't going so well in the military, or maybe they're on the fourth string as a safety, and the Kool-Aids have been great for them just to kind of rekindle their fire, just to kind of, remind them of their why. And I think it's an awesome question, because I find it ironic that you asked this question, because I had so many players tell me that they enjoyed the Kool-Aids this spring. I've never had guys tell me that before. So I don't know what the Kool-Aids were. I sat in a few of them, but it sounds like they've been good.
And then just lastly from me, at the start of camp, you wanted to see some guys become more vocal leaders out there. Did anybody grow in their just vocal leadership throughout the course of the spring?
Well, the one guy for sure I know is Ty. And I think just being a sophomore last year, I don't think he felt like he could talk. He had never played before, and he felt like, but just watching him this spring and talking about the huddle, hey, guys, come here. Okay, you're going here. I mean, he's doing things what a quarterback does, things that Keenan used to do, directing traffic. You go there, hey, don't forget, come on this, just. So I was encouraged by that, because I hadn't seen that side of him, because he wasn't doing that. And in my meeting with him, he said, you told me, Coach, I just feel like I could do that now. I didn't feel like I earned the right before to do that. I was like, what? You're the quarterback. We want you to talk. You know what I mean? But he just felt more that I've earned the right to say something, to be more vocal. Will Harbor on defense. It's kind of crazy to feel, but our guys don't talk a lot. They just work hard. Now, there's a lot of chirping, banter going back and forth in spring ball, but as far as talking, as far as motivational stuff or directing stuff, the guy I think about is Will Harbor on defense. And yeah, pretty much other than that, they're pretty quiet.
Thank you.
Pete Medhurst.
Coach, this is probably your closest thing to a real spring practice since 2019. For the players and even for you all as coaches, as you try to reestablish what spring work habits are supposed to be like here at the Naval Academy, how unique was it watching the players, but also for you all as coaches to reestablish those work habits that at one point were such an important part of development here at Navy football?
Pete, I thought it was even before that. Like when we go run outside, when we train, well, our indoor facility is too small right now, but most people train on an indoor facility. We were training and it was cold, and guys are out on the water on our field. And to be honest with you, I mean, the coaches are out there with jackets. In a couple of days, they're out there running with just t-shirts and shorts. And I was like, I better allow them to wear some long sleeves, or people are gonna accuse me of abuse or something. So I just told Fitz, hey, you know what? If they wanted to wear a little bit something longer or get warmed up, and a lot of them didn't wear anything. And part of it, like I said, Pete, part of that is I want guys to show. I wanted them to see our toughness, that we're out there, but we're not dressed up in hoodies and sweats and stuff like that. There's a toughness part. And then the fourth quarters, which we haven't been able to do the entire length of it. And we were able to get them all in this spring. And to me, the fourth quarters is kind of the rite of passage. And that's the reason that I moved our voting for captains later on, because sometimes you voted it for your captain in January, and some of them didn't even go through fourth quarters. And so the other guys are like, what? How can he be a leader? He didn't even go through the grind. You know what I mean? So I think, doing it now after helped. But like you said, I feel like the physicality that we were able to establish, it didn't mean we tackled a lot, but everything is so full. I mean, the way we do things is full speed. We come off the ball on offense. We got, elite effort on defense. And so I just love that. I just felt like the energy. We had a bunch of new kind of calls with a no-name defense, but a bunch of guys running around to the ball, young guys playing on O-line. But I didn't recognize it then. But in 2019, Our offense Newberry, was a great blessing for us with Malcolm, and that was our best offense ever. But to go against Newberry's voodoo and all of his stuff, I mean, it was really hard on the deep offense, but it helped us tremendously in the season. And it's the same thing this past spring. All the stuff that Newberry does. Sometimes I don't know. Maybe some other guys might like, hey, you know what? Just line up so we can get something going. But I'd rather it be hard that way. Again, everybody's philosophy is different. I was telling Newberry, hey, do whatever you want to do. This is what we're going to do on offense. And I'd rather stress our O-line out in the spring ball. I'd rather stress them out, tie out. I want things complicated. And that's why I came away so encouraged from the spring and it went back and forth. Some days offense did better than defense. Some days defense better than offense. And so, but I was encouraged with all of the things that we do on defense that I feel like Ty had a good grasp of what's going on. And I feel like sometimes he come on the sideline, did you see that? Like, oh, no, I just, yeah. Where I think things are starting to slow down for him. And playing in the Army game, playing against our defense has allowed that to happen. But like you said, the mentality of spring ball in 2019 and 2022 is going to allow our team to grow together. So I'm really encouraged.
And we got like 2 minutes left. I'll ask you this. Speaking of news voodoo, you move Clay off the nose. How different will the mechanics of his position be moving off the nose? And what did you see in him to confidently move him over where he'll obviously be able to start at a different position now?
Yeah, I thought, Clay's going to be good. He was out some of the practice just for minor stuff. He'll be back. But New's always dabbling in something. Every time I pass by his office, what are you looking at? Well, I'm checking out these guys or, this pro team or this college team, and I'm going to try this. And so I don't want to disclose too much of his stuff, but he's concocting some stuff. He's got some stuff in the laboratory right now. But, his stuff looks good. His stuff looks really good.
Is that a case, too, where you both of those guys are good football players and you're just trying to get your best guys on the field wherever you can?
Yes, Pete. That's a big part of it. Trying to look at our package, different things, but that's one part, being able to get some of your better people on the field.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
got 1 minute. Wags, you have a really good question that can be asked in 12 seconds.
You alluded to fullback position. Obviously from, on paper, that's kind of a one position. You've got slapbacks with experience. You talk about Ty, you've got some wide receivers in Umbarger and Walker, but Anton Hall, how he and Logan Point look?
I thought they looked great. Both of them look great. Anton is as explosive. The guy's a bowling ball of muscle. And he's got some wiggle and he's got speed. Logan's probably our fastest fullback. The guy's got breakaway speed that can take it to the house. And Mike Maui, who moved from slot back, is also a really good back, along with Daba Fontana. Daba, also had a really good spring. So I thought all of them played well. And I feel like we got two, obviously, guys at top, but I like our 4 B backs.